After more than a decade of cranking out nearly annual Pokémon games, Game Freak has handed the keys of the latest remakes to a relatively unknown developer, Ilka. But even without Game Freak in the driver's seat, Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl have come out as meticulously faithful modernizations of the originals in almost every respect. That means they lack many of the adventurous improvements prior remakes have often made. But fortunately, Diamond and Pearl were pretty darn good games to begin with. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl tell the familiar story of a kid going on an adventure to catalog monsters before accidentally becoming the strongest fighter in the region and taking down a death cult with weird hair. There are no earth-shattering surprises, and the remake's Pokémon roster is kinda disappointingly limited to just those that were available in Diamond and Pearl back in the day. It turns out, though, that what the original Diamond and Pearl lack in modern complexity, they more than make up for in depth. The story takes its time, in a way the series has largely forgotten, sending you through personable little hamlets with smaller attractions, as well as long, winding routes full of trainer battles that will have your Pokémon gulping potions before you reach the next story destination. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl seem meatier for it too, landing at around 40 hours if you're at least dabbling in everything you come across, and longer if you dig into its robust post-game content. The adventure's lengthy hikes are made more complex by the ways in which their design incorporates puzzle-solving HM moves like rock climb, surf, defog, and so forth. Did Diamond and Pearl have too many HMs? Oh, heavens yes. But the remake cleverly relegates these moves to the smartphone-like Pokétch menu, rather than making you carry a Bidoof in your party at all times to kick rocks for you. It's enough to transform the original's many winding side paths from unrewarding chores to exciting little spelunks for treasure as you hike your way under, over, around, and through the Sinnoh region's centerpiece, Mount Coronet. Ilka's faithfulness to the original Diamond and Pearl extends to the original pair's weaknesses too, and nowhere does that commitment surface more conflicting emotions than in the roster of Pokémon you can build your team from. Diamond and Pearl have an utterly bizarre slate of monsters, skewed heavily toward a handful of types that make it challenging to assemble a balanced group without being railroaded into using a few specific staples. That's mostly still the case in the Brilliant and Shining versions. Even with the addition of new spots to find wild Pokémon in the Grand Underground, Ilka largely stuck to the original roster of monsters for the main story, with the rest unlocked in post-game. While Platinum's expanded roster is available for capture if you make enough visits to the Grand Underground and hunt long and hard enough, they don't appear on the surface, where most of the story takes place, and it can be tricky to sniff out the exact partners you want to balance your team. Meanwhile, above ground, every other Pokémon is a Geodude, and there still aren't enough fire types to properly counter the 100 or so Bronzor you'll inevitably have to fight. That said, there's admittedly something legitimately fun about trying to craft a team around type and roster limitations that the series has generally avoided since Pokémon X and Y. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl feel just slightly more difficult than other recent Pokémon games as a result, which could catch those used to the likes of Let's Go off guard. But this grizzled veteran enjoyed the genuine challenge of compiling a crew that wouldn't get curb-stomped by the Elite Four the second I walked in. Despite their faithfulness, there are a handful of places where Ilka was able to put its own clear stamp on what Pokémon can be, albeit to mixed results. Its remixes of the original Diamond and Pearl soundtrack are almost entirely forgettable, for example, and the tapping rhythm game mechanic added in Pokémon Super contests misses the delightful excess of the original's dress-up, dance, and performance phases. But Ilka shines in other areas. The Grand Underground now includes spacious rooms where wild Pokémon roam freely, and I could spend hours running around that maze. Its chibi art style is surprisingly good looking in action, as long as it isn't zooming in too close. And I loved the cheeky opening moments of trainer battles, in which characters faithfully strike the exact pose their original sprite used to take before throwing their Pokéball and resuming more natural movement. Sinnoh also looks quite nice in general, within the stylistic bounds Ilka set for itself, though I wish it had been a little less married to reproducing Diamond and Pearl's repetitive trees and grass. Other elements, like the rippling water and detailed reflections elsewhere, are unlike anything I've seen in other Pokémon games and warranted a moment of admiration. A similar amount of care was put into the diverse and detailed battle backdrops, which feel especially poignant given the many fights that took place in white voids in Sword and Shield. Combine those with other thoughtful touches, like having Pokémon walk with you outside Amity Square, and the ability to change outfits so Dawn doesn't have to walk through waist-deep snow wearing a miniskirt, and it made me wish Ilka had either been given the freedom or had the desire to push a bit further outside the bounds of Diamond and Pearl. I badly want Game Freak to let Ilka take on future Pokémon games in the old top-down tradition, and I want to see what Ilka is willing and able to do with its gloves off. If a good remake is defined by its loyalty to the original, then Pokémon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are very good remakes indeed. They are Diamond and Pearl, tip-to-tail whip, looking nicer than ever before. They leave in some of the original's roster flaws, but those are largely forgivable if you have some degree of nostalgia for a time when Pokémon's scope was smaller. I can't help but be disappointed that the developers weren't braver in how they improved upon the originals in the same way other Pokémon remakes were. But I still had a surprisingly pleasant time revisiting Sinnoh's simpler, yet more challenging era of Pokémon that reminded me of a time when the series asked a bit more of us. For more, check out our reviews of Monster Hunter Stories 2 and Shin Megami Tensei 5. And for everything else, stick with IGN.